All right, we're going to start with the nation. Federal government plans salary raise to cushion inflation effects. Students block Lagos Airport Road over the ASU strike. Why I killed my Nigerian lover by Chinese. Why no policeman can slap civilian. Flood 13 states to stockpile food, evacuate residents. Bishop Kuka, I paid 30 million naira ransom for my priests. Evans jailed for 21 years for kidnapping and collecting $420,000. And Prudential's Zenith Life Insurance profit hits 1.13 billion naira. So let me start with this story of the flood, because it's quite alarming. Quite a number of states, so that's Adamawa, Taraba, Benue, Niger, Niger State, Nasarawa, Kebbi, Kogi, Edo, Delta, Nambra, Cross River, Rivers, and Bayelsa states have been asked to stockpile food, and the government might have to evacuate because they're expecting lots of rain, flood coming up. According to NEMA, the National Emergency Management Agency, says that they have flagged the yellow card because they're urging governments in those identified states to stockpile food and items to evacuate their citizens because there might be lots of flooding. They also reference one that happened in Lagos recently where a man was taken by the water. People were trying to save him. He was waving for help. Unfortunately, the water was too strong to rescue him. But this is quite alarming. According to NEMA's report, over 300 persons have been killed so far, 500 seriously injured, 100,000 displaced, and 500,000 affected by flood in 29 states in that country so far. And we must take precaution. Many countries, when this kind of happens, everybody kind of knows, and then people are now taking various groups. But here we just until it happens.
Because flood happened for America. I saw a video about the Mississippi River areas being flooded. And it was handled, but government.
We wait.
But more importantly, I forgot to mention
and then move back.
And this is because they're going to be opening the Kenji, Shiroro, and Jeba dams to overflow in the Cameroon as Cameroon opens that. They do that every year. So those dams are going to be open, and that's going to happen. So those governments of this state must take precautions.
If you know what is up ahead, you plan. It's okay to plan. It's okay to leave, and when it dries up, you come back. But don't stay till death comes. So the major headline, it's just painful that it was in response. So the NLC's public presentation of a compendium, the Nigerian Labour Congress at 40 publication titled Contemporary History of Working Class Struggles, was attended by the Minister for Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, and it was until the TUC President Festus Osifo talked about how workers are being subjugated and oppressed by ruling class that he responded and said, federal government has plans, to increase minimum wage due to inflation, so workers might get an increase. And the government is looking at how inflation has eroded the purchasing power of workers. I would love a conversation around the purchase. The other day I was making an example of how a 200,000 naira salary really doesn't even empower a worker. It used to be somebody's, I'm okay, I don't want to, but now everybody's doing japa because the purchasing power is so weak here. And then when you're responding at the conference, it's not exactly a plan that the federal government, I would have loved that it was a fake issue.
So the human interest story, 47-year-old Chinese national in Kano State, identified as Geng Quangrong, disclosed why he stabbed his girlfriend, Ummu Kulthum, to death in Kabuga Quarters Dorayi Babba area of the state. So they said the suspect was arrested after he attacked and killed his 23-year-old girlfriend in her home. That happened Friday night, September 16. And he said he did that because he was betrayed. Now, according to the State Police Public Relations Officer, Abdullahi Haruna, he said that he invaded the compound, scaled the fence, went there and stabbed her multiple times till she died. So first of all, they had a relationship before she got married. And when she got married, he felt betrayed and attempted to commit suicide. But later, that matter was settled. Then after she divorced, they continued the relationship. At this point now, I don't know the exact betrayal again that happened that made him decide to kill her, and he's been arrested. The mob came, but luckily for him, the brother to the girl was around, and so saved him from the mob. But the police has taken him off. He's been arrested. Investigations will commence. It's just...
I think it should be charged.
When we say we should be executing people, there's only 9. Only 9 have been executed since the turn of democracy, over 3,008.
Yes.
Anyway, I have saved the best for last, NDLEA. What is
yes! Nigeria broke the news yesterday.
Described as the biggest bust ever by the agency. The director of media and advocacy for the agency, Femi Babafemi, on Monday talked about this well-coordinated and intelligence-led operation that has that lasted 2 days across different parts of the state. He says that 4 drug barons have been arrested. A Jamaican and a warehouse manager were arrested because there's this warehouse that they busted, and where they found 1.8 tons of illicit drugs. The nation says illicit drugs, but it's cocaine that they found. And they say it was worth over $278 million, which is the equivalent of over 194 billion naira street value of what was seized.
Did you see it?
Yes, I saw the videos.
I saw the video. I'm like,
yes, the lineup of these people. Anyway, they said that it took the names of the people that were arrested. We need to call them. So G. Jibril, a 69-year-old, an indigene of Ibadan, Oyo State. Emmanuel Chukwu, a 65-year-old who hails from Ekulobia, Anambra State. Wasiu Akinade, 53, from Ibadan, Oyo State. Sunday Oguntelure, 53, from Okitipupa, Ondo State. And Kelvin Smith, 42, a native of Kingston, Jamaica. So what their plan was to send these drugs to Europe and Asia. That was the plan. And then they said that they are part of an international cartel that they had been monitoring since 2018, and it ended.
You know what? I think
we don't have the religious divide. We don't have ethnic divide.
Yes, in crime.
These are Nigerian criminals. Thank you very much. And I think Nollywood needs to do a movie on this one. This bust, especially if I was a producer at this one, this is a movie I'm going to sit down with NDLE. Tell me what happened, because we need to put a movie around it. Because Nigerians must know that our system does work. If we choose to work, that we have a system. So maybe you can criticize the police, but these guys are working.
Yes.
And we must project it in our movies.
I don't know if you saw the video. There was that guy wearing yellow that kept doing like, excuse me, I'm only a tenant here. They said, I'm not talking to you. So we'll see what happens to him.
Please do not to Daily Sun.
Make I join and put.
Daily Sun. Angry students blocked Lagos airport road. We never finished Punch.
We have not done Punch.
Oh,
We have not ended.
sorry, yo. I don't read Punch now.
No.
I never read. Oh, Punch. sorry. Okay, let me go on a break. When we come back, my brain will reset. Stay with us. We'll be back. Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with going with Punch. Queen Elizabeth's funeral. World leaders over 4 billion audience bid farewell. Sands reacts as Evans, an ex-soldier, backs 21 years. Corruption ruining Nigeria, fuel subsidy. Organized crime, says Peter Obi. Students target Apapa Port after airport road blockage. PDP or Tom Won's Atiku Fayose sues for peace. NDLEA seizes 194 billion naira cocaine in Lagos, arrest 5. Buhari to launch the $100 billion SDG financing framework. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Let me start with the human
Nobody
interest.
took Queen.
No.
Okay, so the Queen was laid to rest yesterday, and our Vice President was there representing Nigeria. I think that's pretty much.
Yes, that's it. A human interest story here. A 31-year-old teacher, Idowu Daniel, has been sentenced to 7 years imprisonment for sexually assaulting a 16-year-old. The story was that she gave her confession, although in court, the court at first said that there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute him, because she never showed up in court. But based on her confession, he was prosecuted and sentenced to 7 years. He claimed that...
his confession.
Based on the victim's confession. But the court held that the confession statement by his confession, he said, according to his confession, he said that he fondled her and that even though he tried to have, sleep with her because she was a virgin, he didn't go as far. And we were like, first of all, you're the adult here. You're her teacher, and that's a minor. And because of that, definitely you have defiled a child. And so he was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment.
Wow.
To think that he thought that was a defense, that I didn't really go as far because she was a virgin. So if she was not, she would have deserved it.
Now, wow.
So Peter Obi was addressing the private sector organized by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, and he was talking about, I agree in almost the entire thing he said. So I agree also that he said that the fuel subsidy is an organized crime and that, is based on corruption. The magnitude of the fuel theft that is happening now cannot go unorganized. And I pity what will happen following precedents after the president leaves office as Minister for Petroleum. So aside him being president, he was Minister for Petroleum for the 8 years he was in office. And this is happening under his watch. The NNPC cannot claim, because Nupeng have come out to shout that they will go on strike. Pengassin have threatened to go on strike on this theft that is happening. And, for Peter Obi to be saying it, somebody will now say it's political. Things are happening. And, they are happening under the watch of the president. If President Jonathan had her properties forfeited after office, I wonder what will happen to the President Buhari.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Benue State Governor, Samuel Ortom, is warning the People's Democratic Party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, and other chieftains to resolve the crisis and placate Wike ahead of the campaign season. He said that the leadership has failed to deploy their internal mechanism to resolve the crisis rocking the party, and ignoring Governor Wike will pose a great danger for the party. So he went ahead to say that they need to, as fast as possible, address the issues regarding Wike, that they had been unjust. It was an act of injustice towards him, and they need to sort it out. And I think also the Ekiti State Governor also mentioned that nobody has said so far that Atiku is not the flag bearer, or that this Delta State Governor, Okowa, is not going to be the vice, that they are still in agreement, but they need to work together so that 2023 they will not lose out in the elections.
Okay, so Evans, alongside another, but Ayuba, were sentenced 21 years imprisonment, which is like a life imprisonment. A few sons have reacted. One was Professor Sam Nerigo, said that he has several cases in the presence of the court, so presented to the courts, and this is just one of the sentences, so they're expecting much more. Another said that Oludarama SAN said that the sentence made no difference because Evans was already serving a life sentence. So, but many had also applauded the fact that this sentence came, it was Justice Oluwatoyin Taiwo of the Ikeja Special Offences Court that made the sentence yesterday of 21 years imprisonment for collecting $420,000 from kidnapping
and possession of firearms.
Kidnapping Sylvanus Hafia and possession of firearms, yes. Okay, let's move on quickly now to Daily Sun. Angry students block Lagos Airport Road, target seaports. Government officials behind all thesis Obi. Court dismisses suit against Tinubu Obi over placeholders deputies. Bullion van attack, police arrest ex-DSS officer, brother, 8 other suspects. Southeast governors' leaders need to unite to end insecurity, says Soludo. Nigeria needs 3.4 trillion to subsidize PMS in 2022, says Kiari. Bandits kidnap 60 church worshippers, demand 200 million naira ransom. 2023, Lawang Bajabiamila Kuka set agenda for candidates. And Prudential Zenith Insurance records 75% growth in profit after tax. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Okay.
And now, okay.
Placeholders. Can we quickly do that? So the...
Oh, you have the placeholders?
Yes,
Okay,
do you have it?
Go ahead.
The court struck out the suits, contesting the candidacy on basis of that placeholders arrangement they did. And he said that the person who filed as an SCN, Godi Uche, was unable to show justifiable grounds or reasonable cause of action in the suit, so the court struck it out.
So Anambra State Governor, Prof. Chukwuma Soludo, is calling for unity amongst governors and leaders of the Southeast region in order to tackle the insecurity in the zone. So he's recommending also the same measures across the country, saying that we cannot achieve a state that is free of insecurity without collaboration. Every state needs to collaborate, and he's doing his best to chase out a lot of unknown gunmen in the state. Said Anambra right now is relatively safe. They have been able to decimate about 15 criminal camps already, though there are still pockets of them here and there, but it's really not affecting the people of Anambra State. They are hosting their New Year festivals, having their cardinal meetings and all that. So things are a bit, getting back to normal in Anambra State. But he still needs the governors to come together, to work together to ensure that they are able to fish out all of these insecurities, saying that all these people that call themselves unknown government, there's nothing like that. They are hiding under agitations to commit crime. Those are criminals. There's nothing like unknown. And those criminals should be fished out and dealt with so that they can have peace in Anambra State.
Okay, let me take this Vanguard. ASU, travelers stranded as students block airport road. That's our hot topic. We'll take it a bit later. Some PDP governors, leaders working for Tinubu say source. Auction vehicle, mother's son received over ₦1 million donations from public. Presidential candidate spokesman must run issue-based campaign, says Cooker and others. Evans' accomplice get 21 years jail. Northern governors call for state police a relief, says southern governors. Bandits abduct over 45 in southern Kaduna. Church demands 200 million in ransom. So I was going to take the story of the woman and her man and her son. If you recall, the story took the woman's son whose bus was auctioned off. And she was crying. She was a widow. She's spoken to Vanguard. She lived in Ogbaguda area of Lagos State. She's received donations. If you recall that story where, according to them, somebody had actually, they bought the van from somebody who sold it to them at 1.8. They had only paid about 300,000. And then her son drove the bus on a one-way. And that's how the bus was impounded legitimately by the government. But she cried for help during the time it was auctioned off, and many came to her aid, one of which was the PDP candidate for Lagos State governorship, that's Jando, and his deputy were there. They gave her 500,000. A few other people, somebody from her church gave her, I think, 300,000, and people just put money together for her. So she has about ₦1 million now, a little over that, and she's hoping that she told her son clearly that never take one way again because she cannot go through what she just went through. That her health is really down. She's going to use the money to treat herself, but she has warned her son sternly, never to take one way again.
So that's what I like about this story, is that the lesson has been learned and that, people who were kind-hearted enough to help her also, because she herself, that's the mother, didn't deserve it, but the lesson has also been learned.
Exactly.
The governor of Ondo State and the chairman of the Southern Governors Forum, that's Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, has called for to commend the Northern governors and 19 Northern governors and the Northern Traditional Rulers Council for asking that they need state policing as well. So agreeing that they need state policing as well. And he has said, he made a really big case about it, about how patriots should commend them for taking this stance. And he says that, the way the federal government, the way it's structured, yes, the federal government is supposed to do, but given the present realities, insecurity, it will not work. The best way and what he calls the most pragmatic way to go about this is to have state policing. And he's happy that our northern governor counterparts are now on board. I just found it a bit interesting how he was talking, he was making a whole show about saluting their courage for agreeing to do this. I just feel there's some sort of... I get it. He's happy that they are now on the same page. But to say salute their courage, when you overhype somebody for...
I don't think it's overhyping. I think they understand the back end. That it's not easy for them to come out
to
come out. So because we've been pushing this state policing thing for many years. That's why I said we haven't had the boldness to pass it yet.
Okay.
So we're yet to have it passed. So now that people are small coming out
now. So all
now,
patriots must salute all the 19 governors, traditional council members.
Both north and south.
Yes, for pushing this.
All right, let's go on a break. When we come back, our hot topic are the students, the Nigerian students, who boldly came out yesterday to block the roads. What are your thoughts on this? Stay with us. We'll be right back.